Hello, welcome to Marathon Swim Stories, where we connect with curious and courageous individuals from all walks of life to explore our relationship with water, what holds people back, and why others keep going, where we investigate the connection that we have with each other, those who support us, and the water that is 70% of our planet. If you've ever stood at the edge of a body of water and wondered, you're in good company. I'm Shannon Keegan, mom, wife, marathon swimmer, swim efficiency coach, and founder of Intrepid Water, where I teach swim freedom, virtually, locally, and abroad. The freedom to get started, break out of your comfort zone, or shatter your preconceived notions of what's possible. Find out more at intrepidwater.com. Hello, and welcome to Marathon Swim Stories. Do you ever find yourself frustrated, anxious, maybe overwhelmed? Then you go for a swim. Upon exiting the water, all feels right in the world. There's a name for that: Blue Mind. I'm excited to share an interview with you today. In December of 2022, I had the good fortune to meet with Dr. Wallace J. Nichols, the author of the book Blue Mind, the surprising science about how being near, in, on, or underwater can make you happier, healthier, more content, and better at what you do. The interview was initially part of a separate podcast series that I've since decided belongs right here on Marathon Swim Stories, for it is a story about the water and the benefits of swimming. And even if you already know that swimming makes you better, maybe you'll be inspired to share this episode with someone who you want to feel better. I plan to fold more insightful interviews in with the stories of swimmers from all walks of life to broaden our perspective on the benefits of what we do in the water and our beloved sport of swimming. In the process, I hope that you will help me welcome more people to the water and the benefits of Blue Mind. How do you like to introduce yourself, Dr. Nichols?
I go by J, my middle initial, just the letter. And I love water too, just like you. And that led me to be a marine biologist. So that's my accolade, is that I studied a lot to be a marine biologist. And then started thinking a lot more about our connection, the human connection to water, all of the water, and all of the other creatures that live in the water as well. We'll include them in this conversation, like the ones swimming behind your shoulder over there on the wall.
Yeah.
You don't want to leave them out at all. So,
right.
Yeah. And I'm a dad. I like land and air also. I'll just throw that in there.
How often do you make trips to the water?
Well, I listen to it while I sleep, not the recorded kind, but the live water. And that comes in two forms, usually. Sometimes it's the Pacific Ocean and it's the waves. And I can actually feel, on a big day, I can feel the waves hit the beach, like through this old wood house. Like I can actually feel it. It thunders through the land and vibrates the bed. And of course, just hearing it through the air, hearing the surf all night. It's a block away, so I spend time there. Then also at our property where we used to live, there's a creek called Mill Creek. And when I spend time camping out there, the house is gone due to a wildfire, which is a whole other podcast, probably.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
But when I spend time out there, it's the sound of Mill Creek. And then sometimes in the distance, you can hear the Pacific Ocean echoing up the canyon, and occasionally a sea lion. So there's that, the water I live by. But I try to swim every day, one way or another, even if it's more brief than I had hoped. I still get wet. And of course, the rain. Once we get started down this, what's your water question? There's lots of them. Lots of answers, but I like the rain too.
Why people should go to the water, why you prioritize going to the water every day. That's huge.
Yeah. Two parts of the answer. One, One is to understand this thing we refer to as blue mind, which is the emotional response we have to water. You kind of need to start with red mind, which is kind of our new normal. It's the connected, distracted, busy, sleep deprived, caffeinated, grinding mindset that pervades at least our American modern society. It's not exclusive to our country, of course. Everything seems urgent and everything is presented that way. And that's marketing 101, and it's media, and it's sales, and everything is geared that way. And it can wear you down. And if you don't have an off switch, it will burn you out. And that's gray mind. So to understand blue mind, it's good to understand red mind and its near friend, gray mind, the outcome, which is just burnout and breakdown. So blue mind is stepping away from all that distraction. And water, turns out, I've learned, is the best way to do that. It, in fact, will do it for you. You don't need to be a practicing meditator or mindfulness expert. You might not even know what those words mean, but if you get to the water, it does the work. You can't bring your smartphone or your laptop or most of your technology with you when you get in the water, under the water. That's part of the answer. The other part of the answer is water gives you something, but it also takes a lot away. And that taking away is really important too. So it takes away the noise. It takes away the auditory and the visual noise that surrounds us, even where I'm sitting, which is my own home. I can look around the room and I can see things, little projects, little things I need to clean up, little things I need to do. The dog needs to be walked. And I won't even tell you all of the things that I can see that I need to do. Even though I'm very relaxed, it's also the built environment, which is also very visually distracting. Fortunately, at the moment, it's quiet, but sometimes there might be a leaf blower or a siren or a person talking or somebody walking down the road or, my kids. And so there's an auditory component. And then there's the somatic piece. So visually, auditorily, and somatically, the water takes away a lot of the information and the incoming stimulation and offers something simpler. It doesn't take it away and offer nothing, but then it gives, in the place of what it's taken away, what I call blue noise and blue space and buoyancy. And in that place, in that non-distracted, overstimulated place, we get a lot of bandwidth back that we normally don't have during the day. It's not as accessible. And your brain doesn't just shut off and go to sleep. It leans into that bandwidth and utilizes it. And we have aha moments or little creative breakthroughs or dots get connected in our heads. The late, great neurologist, Dr. Oliver Sacks, said that he got his best ideas while swimming. And the man was like friggin' idea factory. The guy just cranked out great, brilliant ideas, like one after the other for his entire life and wrote them down. And he said, this idea factory of a man, incredible intellect and heart and major swimmer, said he got his best ideas in the water while swimming. So what the heck? That's cool. So how does that work? Well, that's the blue mind, right? It's giving us that bandwidth. It's taking away the distractions and the worries and the visual and auditory and somatic noise and giving us ourselves back, basically. And in that place, we can step up to it and fill that space with sometimes beautiful ideas and poetry. Scientific insights even occur to people while they're sitting in a bathtub. Those eureka moments, as history reminds us. So that's blue mind, kind of in a nutshell. And it's not just about swimming, and it's not just about creativity, but those are components of it for sure.
That was beautiful. Can you elaborate on? Because I've had like those eureka moments, even just like in the shower, right? Like, so I have to remind myself sometimes, okay, I got to go pick up the kids, but I'm just going to take a shower. Like, I can't get to the pool, but I'm just going to get in the shower. It just relaxes you, and it's better than nothing. What would be the reason to go to the water to actually swim, to make sure that I have an hour before I go pick up my kids so they can actually swim. Well, and actually I'm down to where 10 minutes is good, and I'm okay if I only get 10 minutes. But maybe you could elaborate a little bit more on like the benefits of actually taking the time to swim versus go to the shower.
Yeah, so there's a continuum of activities you can imagine, and each of us is going to come to this conversation in a different way. So there are people who just don't care for swimming, or they don't know how to swim, or it scares the heck out of them. And so they come with a different attitude. They like to sit by the pool or sit by the lake and enjoy the looking at it and listening to it. And then the people who really just love swimming as much as possible. But you can do Blue Mind. You can probably make a list for yourself of 100 different ways to practice Blue Mind. Some of them might be the 5-minute shower or bath or leisurely bath or running through a pouring down rainstorm, stomping in puddles, sitting by a fountain. Some of them may be full immersion in a pool or a spa, a hot tub. Maybe water aerobics or water walking or lap swimming. But there's a continuum, and it involves domestic water, wild water, urban water, imaginary water, virtual water. All of those count. And so swimming is part of that. And it's probably, I would say, the most familiar of the activities that people do around water, because you don't really need gear, equipment. You just kind of need yourself. I mean, ideally a swimsuit, but that's even optional. Goggles are helpful, but that's optional. You can still technically swim with whatever you got on and no extra gear. So it's really accessible, and you can swim in any water shape, any size and shape of pool or water body. So it's brings in a whole bunch of other aspects as well, besides the Blue Mind aspect, namely exercise. So we have a big, huge pile of research that, hey, exercise is good for us. It's not just good for our bodies and our muscles and our bones and our nervous system and our digestion and our respiratory system and our cardiovascular system. It's good for our nervous system. It's good for our emotional health, our neurological health, therefore our cognitive health, our psychological health, our social health, and even our spiritual health. So, wow, you bring in exercise along with this Blue Mind, mindfulness, relaxing, aha moment piece of it. And then depending on who you swim with and how you approach it, it can be a social event. Some people don't talk at all to anybody, head down just to the pool, get my labs, I'm out of here. And some people say hi to their familiar friends or hang out a little bit before or after. The pool that I swim in, there's a great hot tub adjacent and or jacuzzi spa thing. And lots of us, after we swim, or sometimes even before, an outdoor pool and it's cold at night, we'll hop in just to warm up a little bit, or hop in afterwards to warm up and stretch and have little conversations. So there's a mild social component to swimming. There's something about that activity that when it's just you don't bring your bling, you don't bring your credit card, you don't, nothing fancy about it. You're pretty much stripped down, almost naked. It's just your body. And so there's this kind of camaraderie that occurs that is usually devoid of pretense. Doesn't matter if you're fast or you're a slow swimmer or what stroke you do, just everybody is kind of like, here I am moving my body in the water with y'all. And that sort of sets up a cool social dynamic. So swimming brings all of that together. I hear from people, they say when they're in the water swimming, it feels like a hug. So you also get that. If you're swimming for an hour or 10 minutes, you get an hour-long hug from the water, which is really nice to have sometimes. Beyond nice sometimes. It's like just life-saving, just to feel that water hug. It can be a warm water hug, it could be an icy water hug, but still that water just grabs you and you feel held by it. So it's very different than just, say, sitting, looking out the window at a lake, obviously. I think the immersive aspect of being in the water, whether it's swimming or diving or bobbing around and splashing around, but being underwater neck deep or further, something about that immersive aspect where the water is touching literally every part of the surface of your body. It's finding all of the cracks and all the wrinkles and all the little ear holes and nose holes and everything else. It's going there and it's touching you everywhere. And there's something about that that is so unique. And when you do it with confidence, you find yourself needing it and craving it regularly. Then you add in the exercise and the social aspect, and it's pretty magical when you put it all together.
Yeah, very much so. It's interesting to me as I coach swimmers when they're in their early stages and getting comfortable with those sensations of submerging when they probably, maybe haven't had that experience since they exited the womb. So
Right.
and I guess the other thing that came to mind when you were talking was just like the amount, I think people bring so much tension to the water. And so when I'm trying to teach people to swim, getting them to leave that tension on the shore and come into the water and like really breathe. Like I feel like you can breathe into your limbs and let them float up. But like when we get in, you and your instinct is everything is down and you got to let yourself discover that there's no up or down, in the water. I mean, there's air, of course, but it's really interesting trying to help people understand that just because we become terrestrial beings somewhere along the way. And
Yeah, and
a lot of
holding on to that tension doesn't serve you very well in the water. It creates all kinds of problems in terms of just being able to float or move, survive. So it really is unnerving initially for people. But it's interesting you brought up that like submersion. After I wrote Blue Mind and was giving book talks, I have to say, looking back on it, I probably came at this conversation. Well, not probably, definitely came at this conversation from a very, very privileged place, which I knew, but have recognized much, much more over the past decade. And that is knowing how to swim is a privilege. Being confident in the ways you just described, feeling like you can relax in the water and simply float and then make your way across the water to anywhere you want to go with just your body. To know how to do that and just feel that confidence is such a gigantic, underappreciated privilege. And it occurs because of access to people like you, to a coach, a teacher that might be a parent or a sibling or somebody at your school, and access to a body of water that is safe. And those two things don't always occur. And unfortunately, it's far more rare than a lot of people might imagine. And I gave some talks and I started off and I said, how many people have been underwater in the past year? I went through kind of a year, a month, a week, today. And then I thought, you know what? I'm leaving out a big group. Raise your hand or stand up if you've never been underwater in your life. And a surprisingly large number of people stood. And so from that point on, I've approached this conversation with that in mind, that there may be people listening to this conversation who are like, I don't know what you're talking about. I've never been submerged. Showers, maybe a bath here and there, but never that feeling of just complete isolation that you get when you just put your head underwater, whether it's in a pool or in a lake or in an ocean or any body of water. And I think there's a piece of that leads you to wanting to fix that and change it. For water beings on a water-based planet, that's not okay. That's just simply not okay. So that privilege needs to be extended to all 8 billion of us. Like, absolutely. I can't think of anything more important, actually. There's lots of issues and causes that I don't want to diss any of them or diminish anything whatsoever. But
right.
As water-based beings on a water-based planet, the privilege of being comfortable in the water is paramount. It's at least on the short list of things we should allow for our fellow humans. for me, that was a big eye opener, just to really understand the history, sort of the racism and the limitations for women and girls throughout history, around the world, whether it's not being allowed to surf or not even having a women's swim team or not giving the resources or the racist history, and it still continues, that has excluded people from pools and lakes and rivers and beaches and on and on and on. But yeah, well, so that took a turn. This conversation took a turn there, but that simple concept of submersion opened that up for me, and that wanting everybody to know what you mean by that feeling.
Yeah, it's a huge, I guess, in my heart of hearts, wanting to bring more people to the water is to highlight those access issues. I live in a small town in Southern Oregon in quite a pool desert, but I've heard it even in some of my clients in Portland and Washington that, like, to get access to a pool, like, you have to be a member of a club, basically, which right out of the gate, there's that just excludes a huge number of people. And it's a huge sadness to me, and where I am in this pool desert where you have to be a member to have access to a club. Like, there is some public pools that are open in the summer and have affordable lessons. But I'm with you. I wish it was part of our curriculum, like it is in some schools around the world. I hear of it more. But I think one of the things where I'm locally is, like, I hear parents complain about not having enough lessons for kids. But I feel like without them wanting to swim themselves, that we're never going to fix the pool problem unless we have more actual demand for swimming. So, yeah. And then our reservoirs also are extremely low because of drought, year upon year drought. It's just interesting to me too how interconnected it all is. And unless we can, it's the chicken or the egg phenomenon. How do we bring more people to the water or give more access to water to more people?
Does anybody know Bill Gates? Maybe right. That's really. I mean, it sounds crazy, but if I had however many tens or hundreds of billions of dollars, I think I would do that. That's what I would do. I would say, hey, let's make sure the pools that we have don't close, because that's happening. They're understaffed or under-maintained, and they're just closing down. Or the hours are limited, or as you say, seasonally they get closed, and that's being pinched. New pools aren't being built. New public pools aren't being built the way they should. Yeah, lots that could be done to move us in the right direction. We need the ear of some generous philanthropic billionaire who might want to just set that in motion.
Yeah, makes me think of, we have a kind of not related, the Klamath River. They just got permission last year to remove the dams to make the Klamath River in Southern Oregon wild again for the salmon. And yeah, I guess I heard tell that there was some play of Warren Buffett. So maybe I need to go knock on his tree. If you're going to save the salmon, let's save the people too, right?
Yeah, simultaneously.
How common do you think shoulder injury is in masters and college swimmers? It's a jaw-dropping statistic that you'll learn in the new Minimizing Risk of Shoulder Injury in Freestyle Swimmers course from Swim Mastery. This 60-minute online course is packed with useful information about why shoulder injury is so common in swimming, as well as practical tips to put into practice right away. Go to swimmastery.online and navigate to the shop in the resources menu, or email me, shannon@intrepidwater.com, and I'll send you a direct link so that you can start swimming pain-free today.
The river theme in two things came to mind. There's a group in Portland called the Human Project, and they do, I'll get the exact timing wrong, but for the warmer parts of the year, they do a swim across in downtown Portland. They do a swim across the Willamette during morning rush hour to highlight the swimmability of wild waters in Oregon, and to try to get people to kind of rethink their urban river. And they all wear bright red or bright orangish swim caps, and the idea is that if you're commuting across the bridge and you look down, you see all these swimmers, you kind of go, huh, what's going on? And then you ask questions and you start the conversation. I think that's such a simple, cool way to get out with a bunch of people and do social morning swims. That's great. And then B, to have kind of this impact. And here we are talking about it. And I'm sure there've been thousands, if not millions, of conversations about that swims. So I think that's just a cool thing. Then my other Portland Blue Mine story is Chad Brown, who's run something called Soul River, and he's a veteran with managing post-traumatic stress. And he takes inner city kids and fellow veterans fly fishing around the state. And it's therapeutic for himself and also for the kids and also for the volunteer veterans. And just two great examples of people putting Blue Mind into action in cool ways in Oregon.
Yeah, that's great. I've swum down the Willamette River several times. That they do the Portland Bridge swim in the river. I think River Keepers, one of them puts it on, but it's from Selwood to St. John. It's like a 17-kilometer swim. So the swimming in the Willamette's near and dear to my heart. But I love that idea, though. It's a great highlight, just that, we bring up all these access issues, these things that's insurmountable problems. So thank you for bringing up those examples, because maybe that's the best we can do, right? As we all do our best work to help. For me, I want to help people become comfortable and confident in the water so that they feel safe around it, so we can reduce there's the kid piece, but I feel like the breakthroughs that can happen even with adults and what they can realize by finding that Blue Mind even later in life, like it's, I don't know, something that we should all find before we die, right? It's just that.
Yeah. And when you meet people who learn to swim later in life and the joy that they've unlocked is always just so contagious. And they then want to teach kids and fellow adults. And so you're right. I think there's an exponential aspect to teaching an adult to swim later in life, maybe, and how that transforms their lives. But really, what a gift. The best gift you could give someone is the gift of swimming, I think, and the gift of some kind of musical talent, just the ability to pick up a guitar or sit down at a piano and enjoy yourself anytime, anywhere, or a drum or some musical instrument. I don't want to leave out any musical instruments, but just play music or sing. But the gift of music and the gift of water are really, with the holidays coming up, keep that in mind. If you're stuck and you don't want to give somebody something, give them the gift of water or the gift of music in some form. I love books too. Obviously language and writing are in there, but really if you're traveling the world and, throughout a lifetime, and you can go places and jump in the water confidently and competently, safely, and you can make music with the people you meet, sing songs with them or strum a guitar, you're rich. Like, you are just rich. And no matter where you go, what a great gift. And everybody who is on the front line expanding that and giving that gift is a saint, really. The saints of our water planet really are the swim teachers, in a way. I hadn't thought about it that way before, but I think it's true.
Can you elaborate more on the musical piece? How have you come into that little tidbit?
Well, I play guitar and sing very poorly, but I enjoy it greatly. And I've done it my whole life. And I hit a plateau in about 8th grade. And I don't think I've gotten better or worse since then, but my enjoyment continues. I like to play with my kids and make up silly songs. But in college, I was a sophomore in college, and I was asked by our university chaplain, Fred Lamar, if I would be willing to do guitar lessons for a woman who lived in a nursing home. And she had started living in the nursing home when she was 19, as I was 19, and she was now 32 or 33. And it was because she'd had a car accident and lost her memory, and her family was not able to care for her in her home. And so she was institutionalized.
Oh my
And she had been a guitar player at a younger age. So I said, sure. And I took my guitar and went over to the nursing home. Her name was Barbara Dowdy. And we started playing the guitar together. And really basic. It was like giving guitar lessons to a 6-year-old, basically. And very slow and deliberate. So every Wednesday for a year, I gave Barbara guitar lessons. And once we started to actually play songs, very basic CGD, basic songs, some John Denver, Simon and Garfunkel, the songs would unlock memories that everybody thought were gone. And we'd stop playing and she would start talking about downtown Bloomington, Indiana, where she took guitar lessons, or her guitar teacher, or what she associated the song with, or where she had purchased her sheet music. And I would go back to campus with this kind of like buzzing, magical experience and try to talk to people about it and explain it. And I couldn't really exactly say. So the music is doing something, it's unlocking something. I don't know what. It's got to be some sort of chemical, neurological. I don't know. So I talked to my professors and they'd say, we don't know. Go look in the neuro section of the journals. So I dive in there and find nothing about music in the brain. But it was fascinated because it was actually every Wednesday it was occurring. I was seeing this thing working. And it wasn't magic. It wasn't voodoo. It was neuroscience, right? In action. And so that stuck with me. And still, obviously, it feels like yesterday. And probably greatly informed this conversation about water, that I think water and music play a very similar role in our neurological development and in memory formation, in shifting and moving our emotions. So music can relax you. Water can relax you. Obviously, water can inspire you and invigorate you. Music can inspire and invigorate you. Later in life, water and music become more important therapeutically. Or in the case of Barbara, quite early in life or midlife, it's still there. So looking back on it, if she had also loved water and I had been thinking about these things, we would have also been swimming together therapeutically. And that may have unlocked even more memories for her. And that's the case. My biological mother is in assisted living, memory care, kind of losing her memory. And whenever she's an avid fly fishing woman and river conservationist and swimmer, and she loved water always. And whenever we talk about water, she lights up. Water and ice cream. Those are the two things that currently, she still likes music, but water and ice cream you can see her eyes just get really clear. And she seems very lucid in the conversation about water, almost professorial. And then when that conversation ends, she kind of goes back into a more distant, distraught place. So there's a something there with the water and the music, and there's more research on music than there currently. We're trying to change that is on water, but I think they play similar roles. And the books about our brain on music, if you just do like a global replace of every time the word music shows up, just replace it with water, it's almost readable. I mean, it kind of almost makes sense if you just substitute water in wherever it says music. The science and the practice kind of work. So yeah.
We use that analogy a lot when I'm teaching. We teach about just the way that we're trying to teach people to practice with focus and attention and putting attention in certain places of your stroke. And we use cues, but we're often using I want to say corollary, that's not the word, but we use music. It's like if you were learning a musical instrument, it would be like that, but we're learning to swim. So that's fascinating that that it extends into that it just extends so much
in so many ways. But the rhythm too, I was just thinking that the rhythm of when you get into a real a cadence and a rhythm and a count, and
Mm-hmm.
you're just really just you're grooving, and that's a kind of a musical term. But when the rhythm is right and you're just kind of in that automatic, almost mindless rhythmic cadence, and it's smooth. And as an open water swimmer, that's like that rhythm is what you want, right? You don't want to be arrhythmic and just spazzy. There's something about that, finding that the right rhythm, the right pace, and just moving along smoothly and efficiently. I think it's the same for musicians. Like,
Yeah.
the drummer sets the rhythm. You find it and you stick with that. You keep that, the bass line or the downbeat going,
Mm-hmm.
and just find that. So I think there's a lot of comparisons between
Yeah.
music and water and the act of swimming or
Yeah.
paddling even.
Yeah. Yeah. When I work with new swimmers, teaching them a breathing rhythm is so important, and that becomes kind of like that's your drum line, right? And then we add in your
Yeah.
arms, and it's really beautiful. Think of it like that.
Well, what is your breathing rhythm when you're swimming? Like when you're just really out for a nice long swim and it's not competitive and not really, there's no time schedule. What's your breathing rhythm?
I usually always breathe every 3 strokes. I like the balance of breathing both sides and how I can lean into any differences that I might be feeling. So that would, I guess that's my first answer. But breathing itself has been a very interesting part of my journey. And what I've been playing around with lately is breathing with tempo and gaining efficiency in the breath because it's such a big part of swimming. I went through like bouts of probably what would be maybe labeled performance anxiety in high school, where I would dive in the water and I wouldn't be able to exhale fully. So I couldn't inhale. And I mean, I would finish races, but it was a huge mental thing. And then when I was learning, I grew up in Colorado. So then when I learned to open water swim when I was in my 30s, well, I went through this whole thing. Anyway, it's been a big part of breathing has been an interesting part of my journey. And it's funny that it's coming all back full circle now where I'm really just trying to fine tune it. And I mean, I've swam miles and miles and miles and miles, and I'm perfectly fine going slow. But what I found is I kind of hold my breath a little bit in the water. And if you want to go faster, you need to be able to be more efficiently exhale so you can more quickly inhale so that you can keep that rhythm going. So I'm still working on the orchestra, but it's been really interesting to explore.
So every third stroke.
That's what I
That
do.
makes sense.
What
Yeah.
do you do?
Right. I'm all kind of all over the place. Some days I'll try to do really long, slow exhale over the course of maybe six or seven strokes,
Mm-hmm.
maybe as many as 9 strokes, just as a practice and see how that works. I never hold my breath. That's kind
good.
of
Yeah.
keep the as long, slow,
Mm-hmm.
deep exhale followed by as big of an inhale as possible, and then another long, slow, deep exhale. But I do find that it's more efficient, and I'm stronger and better if it's closer to every 3 or 4 strokes. I mean, and it's the faster exhale. I've just been messing around with it a lot lately.
It's fun to explore too. I guess the thing working with new swimmers is making sure they're breathing into their belly so that they're getting the benefits of relaxing their nervous system if there's any tension or anything. And so helping people understand, if they're breathing into their chest versus diaphragmatically is really the first step with anyone I work with, because it's interesting. Like myself, I work with marathon swimmers who were breath holding until they all of a sudden started tuning into it and realized, oh my gosh, there's so much more you could do here. And you get buoyancy too from filling your lungs more. So when you say you're holding your breath 6 or 9 strokes, I suspect that you're getting a nice full diaphragmatic breath,
Yeah.
filling those lungs
Yeah.
all the
Big
way up.
inhale and then a real slow, long exhale, not really not holding it.
We call it pop breathing, where you slowly exhale, because it's a really neat thing that you can do with your nose specifically. It's harder to do with your mouth, but we can regulate it better with our nose, that we can just slowly drip air out. And so we always start with buoyancy tests and let people kind of come to realize that, because in order to gain confidence in the water, you really have to feel that, I guess it's acknowledging that as humans, we have an instinct to hold our breath in the water. Your body's like, I can't breathe under here. I'm going to hold my breath. So we have to force ourselves to exhale. So whether it's kids or adults, anyone you're working with, starting with the breath I think it can transform their experience, more quickly. They can gain that comfort because they realize you develop that rhythm, and then they've got their baseline.
And get through the tendency to go from holding your breath to very, very shallow breath, which if you build that habit of just quick little short breaths, if that becomes the habit, then you got to fix that habit in order to really get comfortable and competent.
Yeah. The number of people that have breathing is the thing I just get out of breath. I get so out of breath when I swim. It's really common. And it's really just because they're not exhaling enough, because they're, instinctually holding their breath. So they swim across the pool and they're gasping for air, and you have to train yourself on the rhythm. So it's interesting. I feel like to some degree, we could better serve swimmers in lessons by not just teaching them to get across the pool, but we want them to be safe. So whatever it takes to make them safe, I'll work with them on slowing it down later. But it's a really interesting thing.
I have a challenge for you. Figure out a good song that would be like a training song, like row, row, row your boat in your head, and then on X word you inhale, and on these words you exhale. There might be a perfect rhythmic song that you could sing in your head while you're swimming, while you're learning to breathe correctly. It doesn't pop into mind immediately, but let's think about that and come up with it.
It's a lot. Yeah. I think when I've worked with some people where they're kind of working with their phobias, so for them it's really important to find, be counting it down in their head. It's just like 1, 2, 3, turn, 1, 2, 3. It's like it's pretty simple, but yeah, finding something.
Yeah. Counting I end up counting a lot while I'm swimming for lots of different things that you're counting, and it's boring, and you're like, I'm just in the pool counting. But if you could sing to yourself, and just drop all the numbers, but just have a song on loop, that might be fun.
A lot of marathon swimmers, I feel like, talk about that. I feel like I'm not that adept at remembering lyrics. I might get tunes in my head. Yeah, so it's
be like the wreck of the Edmunds Fitzgerald, which is like the marathon folk song that lasts like 8 minutes. And if you sing it 30 times, you'll get there.
Right.
99 bottles of beer on the wall. That song?
I was going to say, when I swam across Tahoe, I was singing The Ants Go Marching because my son, I think, was 2.5 at the time. And it was the way that I would get him to sleep at night. And so when in the middle of the night, when I was swimming across Tahoe, I'm finding myself singing The Ants Go Marching, like trying to think about different things that rhyme with 1, 2, 3. It's crazy.
There you go. Maybe that's the song.
I just encourage people to find their own.
Yes, right. Find your own rhythmic song that helps you breathe. Yeah.
Yep. Man, thank you so much for your time today. This was such a pleasure.
Yeah. We could probably talk for a month about water and swim it. In the interest of the listeners, we'll wrap it up.
Yes. Maybe we'll have you back when we have a more clear thought what we want to dig into.
Excellent.
After we turned the recording off, Jay and I talked a little more about what I termed a glass half empty approach to teaching swimming. We teach kids to get to the other side, to save their lives, which is, of course, a valuable and important lesson. But what if we taught kids that swimming was a stepping stone to being free in the water, to swim, dive, boat, play water polo, or cross channels? Learning to swim opens us up to a world of opportunities on a water-based planet. In our conversation, Jay mentioned a few of the Blue Mind projects in Portland, Oregon, the Human Access Project, and Soul River. Check out the show notes for links to these amazing Blue Mind projects, as well as links to Blue Minds on Patreon and wallacejnichols.org. If you haven't already, be sure to read or listen to Blue Mind, the surprising science that shows how being near, in, on, or underwater can make you happier, healthier, more connected, and better at what you do. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you were inspired by even just a moment of this story, please share it with a friend. You never know what might push someone out of their comfort zone so that they can find out what they're capable of. And please leave a review with your podcast provider. It truly helps others discover the raw and honest stories of these amazing endurance swimmers. Thanks for listening.